Hi, welcome to another community chat. This particular series of community chats that we're about to embark on, it's going to be more about the candidates, Candidate 2020 or Candidates 2020, as we'll look to speak to candidates who are seeking local office. Our first group that we will look to speak with will be folks who are running for selectmen in June. Joining me for this particular segment is Mr. Bob Manning. Mr. Manning is one of 5 candidates who are on the ballot come June 23rd. At least we hope. Our fingers are crossed. We are living in interesting times. Nobody foresaw we thought that we would be enduring what we're enduring now with COVID-19. Bob, thank you very much for joining me and sitting down remotely and talking about your run or your candidacy for selectman.
Well, Kevin, once again, thank you very much for this opportunity to discuss this with you. I've met with you at WATD Radio before when I was running for candidates for Board of Health and selectmen, and I find you to be a fair and honest person, and I enjoy the give and take we have in question and answering, and so I'm looking forward to this. So
for those who, and I never want to assume that everybody knows who Bob Manning is. I'm sure that there's a fan club out there. I'm sure that you have a group of friends who know you and have known you for many, many years. But there may be some who are new to town, maybe some who are new to voting in town, who may not know who Bob Manning is. If you will, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe any times that you've run for office, held office, things that you do in the town when it comes to civic engagement.
Sure. Again, my name is Robert Manning Jr. That's my full name. I've been in this town for about 22 years. I'm originally from Dorchester. My wife and I moved here in 1992, 93. We educated our children here. I spent my time involved early in Abington with Abington sports. I did a lot of youth soccer. I did youth soccer in the town for about 11 to 12 years. The last 2 or 3 years being a co-director of the youth soccer program. I was involved with Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Webelos. I did a little over 14 years of service to the town in the scouting program. I donated a lot of time working with Mr. Jack Bailey, who does a lot of fundraising work in the town of Abington. I've been on the flower committee that we do a flower fundraiser every July at his home. Car washes at his business. I've been involved in the parade, the St. Patrick's Day parade with St. Patrick. I've been a parade marshal for 26 years. I've also been involved at the town level. I was originally in the Board of Health. I did my first term and followed up with a second term there. I then made an unsuccessful run for the selectmen, and then we had the famous same street run. Rick Collins and I ran, both of us living on Orange Street, ran for office, and I was welcome and very pleased to have won that election. But I did my 3-year term there, and unfortunately I did not win last year. And this year, when the elections came up, I waited to pull papers because I thought someone else would submit papers. I would just the week before the end time come, I turned my papers in, and right after I turned my papers in, 4 other candidates joined me to run for selectmen to represent the town. So I think it's great that we have 5 candidates running for selectmen. I encourage everyone to get to know all 5 of them and to come out and vote. The most important thing I want to express to you, Kevin, is that I hope that the town people do come out and vote on June 23rd and vote for the candidate you'd like to have them represent the town of Abington for the next 3 years.
Bob, why run for selectman again? What do you see as some of the issues or the items that you'd look forward to tackling in the next 3 years, at least during your first term?
I think one of the most important things, unfortunately, is going to be where we are on the budget. I find it's going to be very difficult to think that we just had a change in town management. Our town manager has left. We've hired a new town manager. We have a budget that was hopefully almost ready to be presented to the people of the town. But what we don't know is the fiscal circumstances behind state level funding and being able to support what we have proposed for a budget going forward. I've been involved being a state employee working for the Mass Department of Revenue for over 17, 18 years, and then working for the Department of Executive Office of Technology and Services in the computer hardware division. I'm really concerned with where we're going to be with the budget coming up in the next 4 or 5 to 6 months and what that's going to mean to the town. I have a fiscal background. I have an accounting degree. I've been involved in other projects, like I've been on the St. Bridget's FinCom committee for 22 years. So I have a financial background. I like the challenge that brings. I also feel that I have something to attribute to the town. I'm one of those people that was raised to give back, and I enjoy representing the people of the town. And if I have the option of doing that again for 3 more years, I'll do what I can to help the town move forward and progress with not just the option of finances, but what else we have to look at in this town. Because other issues that people were going to say, well, we can't really even be able to look at them at, but we've been talking about streets and how the streets have been falling apart and the sidewalks have been falling apart for many, many years. And that's something that we still have to look at. And I think our current DPW manager does a pretty decent job managing it as we speak. But it's something we have to look at going forward. I think water treatment facilities and water resource authority is something we have to be concerned with. I think in the background, people just think the water is always going to be there. Well, we've already had a well dry out, and we've already had some water issues over the last couple of years. So not that I'm saying that there's any major problem with that, but I'm thinking that fresh water is an important category and where we're going to get it. We have the Navy base, which we've been dreaming about getting some type of tax compensation from. Hopefully we'll get movement on that too. So there's a number of other situations, but those are the major topics I'd like to think that we can discuss.
So let's kind of delve into what you've just already kind of shared, and probably the prime one. We'll start with water. That might be the easiest one.
Yeah.
I mean, where does Abington get its water? Is this strictly from the wells? Is any water coming from Brockton, who has Silver Lake and a desalination plant, or is there any thought to hook into the MWRA?
The MWRA piece is a cost piece. I will say this, Kevin, that towards the tail end of my life in Dorchester, the MWRA was just starting to increase rates, and the rates are crazy. And one of the reasons why we've had some issues with the Weymouth development is that they have a problem finding water and sewer. Abington recently purchased another 500,000 gallon of sewage, not water, but sewage treatment from the town of Brockton, which we were allowed to connect to and try to catch up on all of our back orders to connect to our sewage issue. But right now, the water is our water. It's a shared development between the town of Rockland and the town of Abington. And we do share that very important commodity called water. And as I said, we've had several issues where we've had some contamination at tail ends. We've actually lost one of our wells. It dried up. We were approached by the Weymouth Air Base to look at some of our wells that had dried out to see if they could make some more water out of them. That didn't really come to truth. And the reason why I believe that Abington's property at the base hasn't really developed is there's really no source for water and sewage to make the Rockland and Abington properties profitable enough. And I think the development at the Weymouth side has got to the point where they may have to start thinking about MWRA expense to service their community, because most of the development down there has been housing, not too much commercial real estate.
What do you feel is going to be, you talked about the Naval Air Base, and it seems as though trying to get management to get a development company in there is nothing that has been long-term, as they've had multiple companies that have gone in, or organizations that have gone in with promises of trying to build out and develop. All three parcel or all three parts, three communities that have a stake in it. I believe as of earlier this year, late last year, early this year, you had another company come in, or another organization come in, another developer come in and say, okay, we're ready to take this over, and this is what we have. How does the next board of selectmen or the next group of selectmen tackle this issue in regards to economic development and building out Abington side of the Air Force Base?
One of the things I would like to encourage for Abington's sense of purpose is possibly a hotel motel development on what we think is 40 acres of commercial development property that Abington owns. I'm looking for a tax base, given the fact that we already do the first line of offense of fires. Abington is the closest, so we tend to be the first alarm to arrive to put out fires. The major fire they had right off Route 18 just about a year ago, Abington was the first on site and provided a major portion of the original firefighting of that apartment complex that burned. But I've always thought, when I was a selectman and now that I'm hopefully running for selectman again, that there's a plausibility that we could bring to the table the possibility that our interest is commercial property. We don't want residential development. We want commercial development. We want a tax base out of this. I would like to see the plausibility of a hotel motel with a sort of like a ballroom function room that would give the town not only the town youth possibly jobs, but also provide services to the town, like having our proms there and having our weddings there and stuff like that, and just generate a tax base of sales, meals, rooms tax, corporate excise tax, something that would drive money to the town that we would have to probably bargain with as far as water and sewer is concerned, but at least we'd get something back from it that would help benefit the town long term. So I would like to think that one of the things I would like to approach over the next 3 years, if I was elected selectman, would be to ask our representatives at the Weymouth Air Force Base to propose the plausible development of commercial property, not just commercial businesses, but a business that will turn out multiple tax types that can return money to the town of Abington.
But does the town of Abington and its leadership have any say over how that space is developed? Is that, or is it, do you feel as though that there should be at least an open conversation with elected officials in Abington and the developers of that space?
I'm not going to sit here and say I know all the arrangements how Weymouth, Rockland, and Abington are set up, but I do believe Weymouth got the majority of the first rights to build. We were far enough away, or the farthest point away, for water and sewer hookups, and so when previous developers had come and approached us about developing the land, they wanted water and sewer compensation, and we weren't willing to make give that out based on what we were going to get in return. I think it's time that I think I think this is the third group of people working and managing the property there. I think it would be nice if the town of Abington could have, although we have a representative there already, I think Kevin Dovin currently is our representative there, but having Kevin approach them to say that we're interested in starting development of Abington land and we'd like to see if there's any possible commercial hotel motel interest in developing property there. I would think there would be. It's a centrally point located. It's located close to the expressway. It's located close to the trains. So I would think possibly a motel would like to show up there, but more than just a hotel motel. That's like a mini expo center or something like that. Something that's going to generate multiple different tax types that generates income to the town of Abington.
As we try to navigate through COVID-19, as I had said as we started this conversation, there's a lot of unknowns leading up to town meeting, which is actually is scheduled for the day before town election on the 22nd of June. What are your concerns, at least as a resident and not necessarily as an elected official, about the 2021 budget and the effects, knowing that you have right now these past 60 days? I don't know where Abington stands in regards to. I know every community had an opportunity when the sales tax was increased to 6.25%. that there was an avenue for communities, if they wanted to,
Local tax.
a local tax. I would believe
Right.
that Abington is one of those communities that did pass the local tax.
We did.
So right now, Abington is suffering with a lot of these businesses that are shuttered or closed and not doing what business. That's hurting. What do you do moving forward for the 2021 budget? What are your thoughts with town meeting around the corner?
I'm, my first fear is furloughs or layoffs. I don't want to see anyone who works for this town have to deal with furloughs and layoffs. I don't want the fire department, the police department, the ambulance, the DPW, town hall services. I don't want anyone to have to bear up. But I asked the question, and I don't have an answer. Where are we going to be with state aid when it comes time to approve our budget?
Right.
And I believe that our town treasurer and our existing town manager and our selectmen are probably having to deal with that question mark, unknown to anybody else. How is that going to affect what we propose or what we're considering to propose as a warrant? I have seen in the local papers that other towns south of the city have pulled back on some of the warrants out there, thinking that we're not going to have the budget money to pay for those modifications, like buying more equipment or anything we can delay. We should probably make that approach, looking at, even though we could possibly approve a budget, maybe there are parts of that budget we can delay, at least for the next 6 months, to get us going forward in a positive manner before we encumber more debt. So debt encumbrance is one of the huge things that towns have to deal with. And I would believe that most of the towns on the South Shore and the city of Boston are going to incur some debt from this process of this virus, which has devastated everyone in different ways. So I would hope that we have the right people in place to look at what we need to worry about as far as looking at our proposed budget and identifying items on that budget that maybe could be withdrawn back and hopefully not put us over an edge where we would be in a financial negative going forward after the town meeting in June. I would hope that at the town meeting in June, these people who attend town meeting tend to be paying attention to what's happening in the economy and what's happening to the town, and will think logically enough to say that maybe that's something we can put off so we don't have to encumber debt, and we can just move forward with what we need to get done and move forward with what we need to see as a promising new year, not worrying about so much being in the negative, but pushing more towards the positive of the new experiences as we go into this new post or continue on to COVID-19 world, which we all still don't know what's going to happen. As of this date, we're sitting over that waiting for the governor to say what's going to happen on Monday. I'm pretty much going to think we're not going to learn too much on Monday. I think it's going to be a very, very narrow window of what is going to happen over a very long period of time. I think most of the summer is going to be spent worrying about who can go to work next week. And the most important thing is to open up safely, keeping the public's health in mind and keeping the economy in mind. What's the best way to move forward wholeheartedly, but in this town especially, so that all those factors are included as we move forward into the next year.
It's interesting. You talked about incurring debt, and capital projects are important for any community, whether it's building a new school, and we know it's a couple of short years since Abington built a new middle senior high school. It's been a bit since building a new police station. I think prior to COVID-19 pandemic, there were discussions, there were feasibility plans put into motion about a new fire station. Where does that take a back seat? Does that go on the back burner indefinitely? Or is that something that should still be looked at, but instead of being in third or fourth gear, maybe dial back to second gear?
The fire department needs to move forward. We have 2 pieces of property, both of which have maxed out in their useful life. And I don't think we can just simply turn the key down and say, we'll get back to it maybe next. I think we need to move forward. I believe the current selectmen have a investigative group looking at moving forward with the town fire department. I believe, I was talking to Chief Nuttall, I would like to see the town move to a new fire station one fire station as opposed to two, centralized somewhere that we can service all the towns successfully, possibly sell off both locations to get some cost money back to help pay for the new construction of the fire department. We also have two schools that we closed, the North School and the Center School, possibly offsetting one to get something else delivered, or offsetting both to get some cash in to help offset the cost of the fire station. Possibly looking at senior development living in both of those properties. If you're going to tear the school down, making sure that whatever gets built there is more towards gearing towards senior housing. This town is an aging town in some way, shape, or form. We really haven't seen a lot of senior housing development over the last 10 years. There hasn't been a lot of budgetary money from the government to allow us to build senior housing. So I would like to see at least one of those two locations go to some form of mandated development that is for seniors more than for just housing. One of the big issues I see in the town is I watch a single family home get torn down and a duplex or a triplex get built in. So where there was one house and two toilets is now 6 toilets or 8 toilets and three families living there. So I know we have a problem limiting what we can do, but I also hope that the fire department, although we may have to slowly approach the next step in going forward, but that we still need to make those little crawling steps and not stop the development process of identifying where, how, and when, and what the cost is going to be, and then determining what's the best methodology of getting that built without too much encumbered debt.
So we got a few minutes left here in our conversation. I don't know if you want to talk Chapter 90 and any road projects. You want to talk education, and funding, where that goes, or maybe there's another issue or set of issues that you feel we should devote a few minutes to talking about.
I'm worried about state funding. I'm not going to lie to you. I believe there will be some cuts to state funding. I'm not quite sure what they're going to be. I don't think anyone really can say right now what they are going to be. But I am concerned how hard those are going to get hit, and where they're going to get hit. Education. You mentioned that we just built the new middle school and the new grammar school. It's an award-winning school program, by the way. It won national awards over just a little over a year ago. It's a great school. It's been one of the shining developments that the town of Abington has done in my time in the town. With everything else that we've built out, the school has been a beautiful addition to this community. I really would like to finish my conversation with you with just saying to the people of the town of Abington that we are coming upon a whole new era. We're replacing 2 selectmen. We have 5 candidates. I encourage you to get to know the 5 candidates, and I encourage you to come out on June 23rd and really select someone that you think will represent the town the best. And I hope you'll consider one of those 2 votes for Bob Manning. And I'm hoping that as we move forward in this process, that those that are existing and those that are new can merge together and move forward with the development of the town to the best of our ability, given the situation and its stickiness and how it's going to be left, that we all can come to an agreement of what's best for the town of Abington and just move forward with what's best for the town of Abington, because we're going to have a very challenging year. We have a new town manager. We're going to have some financial issues to deal with going forward. And we still have to look at the progress that the town has to seek, not only for the fire station, not only for the roads in this town, not only for water and sewer, but just for the common good of the town of Abington and all the things that happen. And encouraging new development and new business in this town. It's always one of those things that we talk about, and it's always one of the things we hope to see. And I hope that we can encourage over the next 3 years more businesses to come to Abington and open up, and so we can get more work being done in our town and generate more tax dollars and also generate jobs for the people in the town of Abington.
If folks want to find out more about your campaign or reach out to you, is there an easy way for folks to reach out to Bob Manning?
I believe there is an easy way. I do have a Facebook page up there, Committee to Elect Bob Manning on Facebook. I encourage anyone who has any interest to go look there. I really have not been very aggressive so far. been paying the passive candidate, given the fact of the situation we're in. I don't want to make a limelight or shout out in any one case and form. I'm willing to work with all of the candidates who are running to do a great job for the town of Abington and just put out the best face for all of us as we move forward. There is really no way to do fundraising. There is no really way to do much of anything. You're pretty much running your candidacy, given what you're running it by yourself, for yourself, for the benefit of the town. And I just want to encourage people to A, vote, and B, vote for the person you think will help the town move forward. And I hope you'll consider Bob Manning as one of those votes as you come to the polls on the 23rd of June.
Bob, thank you very much for your time. As we wish not only you, but all the candidates the best of luck. You kind of said it eloquently. These are tough times. You don't want to be out there campaigning and be insensitive to what's going on with the coronavirus and people being sick. And, you know, you can't campaign because we got to observe social distancing and wear masks. And it's so difficult. These are unprecedented times. So I thank you for taking a few moments to sit here and chat with me about some of the key issues, and hopefully folks will seek out these videos that we're doing to better get to know the folks that are seeking office.
I want to thank you, Kevin, for once again stepping up to the plate and asking for us to do this and volunteering your time to record these videos to show the public. And I want to thank you for all the work you do for the town of Abington, because it's appreciated. I thank you very much.
You got it. Thank you, Bob. And thank you very much for tuning into Community Chat. Again, the idea of these conversations is to help you better get acclimated with the candidates who are seeking office. I believe that there are going to be a couple of different offices that are up for seeking votes from you, the public. Get out and vote and find out about your candidates. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until the next Community Chat, have a good day.